So hello everyone, my name is Snyers, working at SkeyDrone. SkeyDrone, subsidiary of Skies and Brussels Airport Company. I'm focusing on future role of U-Space service provider. Within the SAFIR-Med project, not only SkeyDrone is demonstrating itself as U-Space service provider. We are with two U-Space service providers in this project. For the Antwerp region, or the Antwerp demonstration, it is SkeyDrone. For the MAL demonstration, it is our colleagues from Germany, it's Dronik, together with our technology providers, Unifly, regarding U-Space and UTM technology. And at the level of surveillance infrastructure, Involi, we are building this U-Space service provision system that we will demonstrate in the SAFIR-Med project. Maybe a small recap from a slide that Mikael has already shown before. Where is our role in this ecosystem? It's indicated here in the blue. In the slide before it was red, where the U-Space service provider is in fact communication and delivering services to a drone operator, and also in direct contact with the common information service provider, Skies or DFS or other common information service provider, depending on the U-Space airspace. But in this project, it is Skies for the Antwerp demonstration. We as SkeyDrone, we were involved in work package 1 regarding collecting of different requirements, architecture, demonstration planning, and we were also leading some other tasks regarding concept of operations and also the Antwerp demonstration itself. What I want to talk about now, more in particularly, is we have talked about urban air mobility as a next step for U-Space and enabling drone, because we see that drones in an urban air mobility, they have the most added value for the community itself. And so we have already in place the U-Space framework or the U-Space regulation, which will become active beginning of next year. But to what extent is the U-Space regulation already fully compatible with urban air mobility or not? And that is the question, do we need to adapt the U-Space regulation in order to enable urban air mobility? And for that investigation, we had two starting points. First starting point was the CHORUS, another European project. The CHORUS project, it has developed a U-Space concept of operations. And we have also the U-Space regulation that has been published in the meantime. And a second interesting initiative is an interesting initiative has been published by NASA. And NASA, it's about the urban air mobility concept of operations 1.0. It's their point of view, where we did see that they have more or less same structure in place as we have for U-Space service provider. What they have some differences between the different actors in the ecosystems, between the urban air mobility concept and the USS in FAA concept, the USS framework. But we see much overlap as in technological point of view and in business point of view. And also they have a kind of a stepped-up approach that they want to do, where we see first they want to build urban air mobility with corridors, then a network of corridors, and then towards a more direct and a free airspace as U-Space airspace. When we now have a look at the level of the U-Space framework or U-Space regulation itself, we see, or we did see, that we have at the U-Space framework, we have already 4 different actors or four different assets in place at the level of regulation. And this is a very interesting framework for us to see how we can let it evolve for an extension towards urban air mobility, which is indicated in the green one. So for instance, the first asset you can see as the different actors and the different players who take place in the U-Space arena. And for the first one, we have the common information service provider, as Luc presented, just with Skies. Second one is the U-Space service provider, so Dronik and SkeyDrone taking up this role. We have, of course, the role of the operator, the one who operates the drones. And we have also the concept of the authority. The second thing is, for U-Space, we need also some U-Space airspace. So we need a dedicated portion of airspace assigned as U-Space airspace. Within the current regulation for U-Space, we have the airspace risk management, we have the geographical scope that we can define, we can have access conditions set towards each piece of U-Space airspace, and we have also regulated services for these airspaces. These regulated services are currently defined in the regulation as 6 different services. 4 of them are mandatory services, 2 optional services, and we also have the concept of certification. So we can have actors that require certification, already defined now the Common Information Service Provider and also the use-based service provider to deliver the high quality of services that is required in the safety critical environment. When we try to extend it towards urban air mobility, we see that this framework is in fact rather flexible and that we can easily add new actors for urban air mobility if we want. So for instance, vertiports, vertiport operators can be added as new actors towards the use-based regulation framework. The point of view from FAA and NASA is also to define a dedicated use-based or urban air mobility service provider. We don't see this need in the short term. We think that we can do with use-based airspace and have dedicated access conditions towards this use-based airspace and dedicated services for urban air mobility applications. We have all the means in our hands to further let this use-based regulation evolve into urban air mobility without reinventing something completely new. And for instance, when we have a focus on the services, we have already talked on, for instance, prioritization. Within the first use-based services, it is in fact prioritization is rather limited, and this can be further extended towards the use-based services. Other topics for other services can become in the future demand and capacity management and other services. But our conclusion so far is we can let use-based regulation evolve into the urban air mobility regulation. Thank you for your attention.